Everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another Last Cloudia stream, or whenever you're seeing this. So, I thought the new unit was going to be last week, right? It's been a kind of a weird schedule lately, honestly. It's been very weird with the Devil May Cry collab in between. It's been kind of a strange schedule, but yeah, it's afternoon for me. I always do these live streams after lunch, but yeah, today we've got brand new units. Archbeing Labyreth, who, if you're not aware, or if you haven't seen, you should have seen by now. She appeared in a story a couple of months ago, so most people should have known about this character coming at some point. Because this update is on top of Valentine's Day, I was kind of expecting some kind of limited Valentine's banner and unit, because we've had that once in the past with Valentine's Alice, so I was kind of expecting something like that. But thankfully, it wasn't, because that would have been a limited banner. So today we have a new Descent of Heroes banner instead, which is fine. I would much prefer that over a limited banner. Obviously the main focus of today is going to be looking over the new units, and mostly looking at the current banners and kind of recommended people what they should be pulling on and stuff right now, because honestly, I'm not super excited about this unit, and you can tell I'm not going to be doing any summons today, but we'll see. Once we go over the entire kit and everything, maybe that'll change, who knows. But yeah, let's get right into this and have a look at the news and everything first of all. I don't think the stream's going to be very long today, because there isn't going to be as much to do today compared to the last couple of streams, because it's mostly just a new unit and a few updates. There isn't really too much else. I do want to make sure to cover all the current banners and just kind of recommend what people should be doing with those, and that's kind of the main focus of today. And obviously showcasing the unit, because she could be interesting, but we'll see. So let's have a look at the news first of all in the maintenance notice. I do have this open already, so let's just cover everything that's in here, so we know everything that's in this update today. There isn't going to be too much, I think. So obviously we've got Archbeing Labyreth. I really like this unit's design. She looks really cool, but Labyreth was my least favourite Archbeing, or my least favourite Advocate of God units out of all those four. I wasn't really a fan of her, to be honest, but I do like her design. This Archbeing design looks very cool. You hope she's good? Well, I would say don't make your hopes too high, because you'll probably be disappointed. But we'll see when we get to it very soon. So Archbeing Labyreth looks very cool. I was kind of slightly worried that they were going to make her a stupidly powerful PvP unit, because as you know, the base form of Labyreth is still quite decent in PvP content, and when she came out, she was one of the best tanky support units in the game, so I was kind of slightly worried that they were going to make her insanely strong PvP units, but that doesn't look like the case. It looks like she's more PvE focused, and it's more like a combination of her base form and her summon form. That's what it seems like. And then we've got a new SSR Ark, which is nice, because I would much rather have this than another UR Ark, because we've had a lot of UR Arks recently, and it's nice to have a break with a SSR Ark, which is in the current ticket banners, so we'll have a look at that later on, and we'll look at this unit very soon as well. She is a laceration unit, and if you know what that means, it's probably bad, because laceration, does anyone even like laceration? Like, honest question, does anyone like laceration? Because I don't even know of any single person that even likes this kind of mechanic, because it just kind of sucks. The way they've done laceration just isn't very good. We'll talk more in depth of how laceration works when we go over the unit's kit, but it's just, the mechanic itself is just kind of bad. So when you have a unit that is focused on laceration, it feels terrible, right? We'll go over that soon. Yeah, it's awful. I feel like this unit isn't going to be that great, but we'll see that soon. We've got Summon's Yard, which is going to be starting next week, so in a week from now, on the 19th of February, there's going to be Summon's Yard beta version 2.1. Now, if you're wondering when is the full version of this going to be coming out, No one knows. Nobody knows. They just keep continuing to put out beta versions and improve it before they officially release it. And then I'm gonna guess, once it's officially released, they're probably never gonna touch it again, like Guild Battles. I hope that's not the case. I hope they do some more interesting stuff with this, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. There's a few updates with this beta that's coming next week. Because it's only a 0.1 difference, it's not like version 3 or anything. I don't think there's going to be too many changes in this one. So it's mostly going to be the same thing. Here are some changes that they made to this. So you can now skip battles for all of the quests. Obviously you have to beat it once and then you can skip it every single other attack on the same, enemy after that, but that's pretty useful, going to save a lot of time. And the limit of number of users with summon devices has been removed, so that should mean that you can use one certain summon device multiple times now. I don't think it would be unlimited, because what would be the point of it at that point, but it probably means you can use the same one more than once, which is nice, because there are some that are more useful depending on the units you have, but there's a lot of dark damage dealers, so yeah, and depending on the boss as well, it's a nice change. It's not too much of a change. And guild leaders and sub-leaders can now issue directives for each dungeon. It just kind of helps with communication. If you're in a guild which doesn't use Discord, then this could be useful, but I don't see myself using it, because I'll just be using Discord instead, right, to communicate with everyone in the guild, which is a much better way of doing this. But if you're in a more chill guild that doesn't use Discord, then I can see this being useful sometimes. So then you can tell your members what to attack and stuff like that. Players are now able to view information about some monsters in the summoners yard during ready phase. Now possible to view parties of fellow guild members. Here you go. Now you can, start telling your guild members how terrible their teams are. And you can actually see what they're using, which is nice, because some people may not even be talking about their teams. Then you'll see, why the hell are they using like a Deborn or some garbage unit? You can question them on it, so I like that change. And then some improvements to AI. So honestly, there isn't really much changes. It's kind of very small changes, but they're still nice. And then ready phase is going to be, it was going to be today, but there was an issue in maintenance, so they have postponed it for the moment for ready phase, and they've said that the other periods should be the same, so it's still going to be starting on the 19th. It's just the ready phase won't be starting today until they fix the issues, which should be soon, I would expect. And then we get on to the events. Obviously we've got the Valentine's event, which is in a world map, which I'm always a fan of, and I haven't done too much of it yet. I've only done a couple of stages, haven't really focused much on it, because there isn't any event tickets or anything to get from this. There are some good tickets, like you can get female and male unit prism tickets, which are nice, and you can get the letter trade ticket, which is just a letter from a unit that you like, basically. And you can also get the Redux LR Arks, which are all free arcs, so you might as well just get them once. If you don't really have them, it's nice to have these, because they are pretty useful to have at least once, so it's nice. Not really much else to say about this event, really, but a Valentine's event, basically, we've seen this in the past, pretty similar, so it's going to be like same thing. And then the unit test place quest, of course, Tower Trials, Beast Mayhem. I think Tower Trials Hard should be releasing next week or something, and one very important thing is that they didn't mention in this news post is in the live stream that they mentioned that they're going to be resetting the Battlegraph Simulator attacks next week, I think. So on the 19th, I believe they said it was on the 19th of February that they're going to be resetting your attacks in Battlegraph Simulator. It doesn't say it in here, but that's one thing to be aware of, that they're going to be resetting them next week, I think. That should be in the news closer to next week's update, I would think. And then we got the banners themselves. I do want to talk about these step-up gachas, because these are quite useful for certain players that may not have these units. And I feel like the male banner is going to be more useful because there's a lot more stronger Descendant of Heroes male units than there are female units. There are more female limited units, but the most useful one in here is obviously Sarah, Spirit Banner Sarah, but if you have her already because she's available in the Start Dash banner, then you may not even need to pull on this one. But I will talk about both of these soon, towards after I've talked about the unit, I think. And then some stuff in the shop. I don't think there's anything crazy here. You can get a exclusive Ark trade ticket for 4,500 paid crystals if you care about that. I haven't looked at it, but it says you can use it to trade for any limited Ark before August 7th, 2025. Only seasonal Arks and SSR Arks, of course, but you're not going to be using it for that. And you can get a UR Ark for if you buy 2 of them, which isn't. I don't think anyone's going to be doing that, but it's an option, I suppose. And then the other prisms, I don't recommend buying any of these. They're not really that great, I think. Well, unit exchange ticket choice, you can choose a unit, but yeah, I don't see myself getting any of these, so probably just don't worry about these unless you're missing like a limited Ark that you really want. That's the only case, the only time I would consider getting this one, and that's about it. And not really too much else in the shop. And then some other updates here. We've got some quite good stuff in here, honestly. So one thing I'm interested in, the first one here, is they have further optimized the app performance. Now I'm slightly hoping, I've got some very tiny hope, not very much, but I'm very much hoping that this is going to have more of an effect or an impact on Android devices, but I'm just kind of coping at that point, and I'm just guessing because I don't know. I haven't really tried out any battles since this update happened. Well, at least in Battleground Simulator and that stuff I haven't tried out yet. So basically they have shortened the pre-battle loading times and reduced the in-battle processing workload. I'm hoping this is going to make the game less laggy, but we'll have to wait and see on that one, I suppose. And it's related to wards, so if your account has a lot of wards, then you are more likely to see an improvement. I hope it's a significant improvement, but I highly doubt it. But let's hope that's the case. And here's a very important one that a lot of people are going to like. The most important one here is they've added a rematch feature to multiplayer after so many years, after like almost 7 years at this point. They've added a rematch feature to multiplayer. It's about time. This is probably the best feature in this update, honestly. Yeah, I'll definitely be showing the stuff in those trade tickets later on, but I do want to cover everything else first. So, if a Room Master chooses to rematch, guess we'll be given the option to rematch as well. It's going to be great. Definitely going to save a lot of time. I do really like this change. It's going to make farming multiplayer a lot easier. I do like this change a lot. And then multiplayer quests. Display a preview of Room Master and guest rewards. You can now use the blue or red soul spars to level up your Ark if you have them instead when you're leveling up an Ark, so that's going to save time. And a guild feature, a filter function, so there's some just nice quality of life updates mostly, which is always nice to see. Always like those, but I do like the rematch feature the most. And a few bug fixes, mostly to do with the base form of Amelia, of course, because she is still incredibly strong in Arena and is everywhere right now, so they're trying to do the best they can to nerf her in any way possible, which is not going to work. It's not going to work, is it? But they are fixing some issues, not really anything major, but if you care about Arena, then yes, it's something that you should be aware of if you care about Arena or guild battles, because of Amelia's trait. It was ignoring the certain effects that survival 1 HP, but now the celebratory medal will now activate for her trait attack, and these 3 skills on those 3 units. That's the only change really. And then some other fixes, I don't think anything crazy, so I'll leave that there. For the maintenance notice today, I think that's everything. Yeah. So now we've gone over that, I do want to start having a look at the new units. That's going to be the main focus of today, of course, and I'll be looking at the banners after we've talked about everything in the new unit banner and her pedigree and stuff. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. Even if you spent a lot on the Starter Dash banner, if you manage to get some other things as well, like some UR arcs, I would still consider that to be very good value. And I would still recommend to pull on the Starter Dash banner just because it has UR arcs in it, and some other useful units in there too. So, yes, technically you could have saved 30,000 free crystals, but I would have much preferred to spend on the Starter Dash banner if I was literally just starting. The letters don't really matter. They're just you can trade for a letter of a unit which just says something. It's not really major. So let's start having a look at the new unit and the new arc then, and then I will start having a look at these new banners and talking about these because I know a lot of people are going to be interested in this, but I will cover that after I talked about this new unit and the banner and everything in regards to this unit. So let's start this off with having a look at Archbeing Labyreth. She looks great. I like this design a lot. It looks very cool, but how good is the unit going to be is the main question, and that is what matters the most. Even if a unit design looks amazing, if the unit is garbage, then the design doesn't matter, does it? You know, like that's kind of my mindset in this game anyway, is even if I like a unit, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to pull it anymore, because if they're garbage and don't benefit your account, then whatever. But let's start focusing on this unit. So of course she's going to be a god type because she is an advocate of god units. She is she's the 3rd form that we've gotten of Labyreth, and probably the final one that we're ever going to see of Labyreth, because very subtle spoilers, or spoilers if you haven't seen the story, but you should have seen it by now, but so it's not really spoilers, but basically she dies in the main story. You should have seen it because it's months old at this point, but she dies in the main story, and because of that, and she's already had a limited form, I feel like this is going to be the final form that we're ever going to see of Labyreth, unless something happens in the future. But who knows? You know, there could still be a random chance we get another form of her in the future, but who knows? It's less likely now that she's dead in the story, officially. Technically, they could have like a form set in the past, but I'm just thinking about it. So, strength isn't very high, so you would think, well, is she a mage? No, don't ask that question, it's a stupid question. There are a good amount of physical damage dealers that scale off of intelligence, so if a unit has high intelligence, that's not always going to be the case. She got 2000 intelligence, so she's going to scale off of that pretty well. Attribute resistance is looking pretty average, not really anything to say about that. Element resistances don't look that great, because she is supposed to be a physical damage dealer, and she's got weak to curse, so I don't like that. I don't like it when a unit is a physical damage dealer and they're weak to curse. It just feels bad, because it forces you to build and put SE into curse resistance when you could have put that into damage instead. Obviously in PvE content it probably matters less, because there are not as many enemies that can inflict curse, but in PvP it matters a lot. She does have some resistance to stun, which is nice, I guess, and nil to silence. You know, just looking at these stats, you would think she's a mage because she's got nil to silence and high intelligence, but no. It's funny, but yeah. Let's start having a look at her skills next. So, skill 1, all of her skills and her special scale off of intelligence and strength, by the way. Skill 1 is a frontal long-range thunder combo attack, and it has a chance to give a defense minus 50% debuff. It doesn't say for how long this debuff is, but when I tried her out in the unit test play quest, it seemed like a significant time. So if you're spamming this skill, you're probably going to have permanent uptime of this debuff, which is very useful for sure, because then you don't even need to cast it, you can just use your skill 1 to inflict the debuff, so I do like that. I don't think the animations or anything of these skills are going to be that crazy. Her skill 1 is 10 hits, which is pretty good for a skill 1. I do like that. So 20 hits when dual wielding, because she will be a dual wield damage dealer. But the DPS on all of her skills are going to be kind of below average. I don't think her DPS is going to be very good. She isn't meant to be a main damage dealer, because she just doesn't have enough damage cap. And she doesn't have enough damage, and the animations, they're okay, but she's severely lacking damage cap, and you'll see that in her kit very soon. So skill 2, all of her skills are a long range attack, by the way, so she is a long range thunder damage dealer. Skill 2 is a medium area long range thunder combat attack around the target, and it follows by restoring unit HP, so this can restore her own HP. It doesn't say that it can restore ally HP, so it's probably only herself. This one is 12 hits, which is weird. You've got a skill 1 that's 10 hits, and then a skill 2 that's only got 2 more hits, and it's 12. So, yeah. A good skill 1. Skill 2 could have been high hit counts, honestly. Nothing else to say about that, really. And then skill 3, unfortunately, her skill 3 only has 1 skill stock. I don't know why. I don't know why they only gave her 1 skill stock for her skill 3. I don't understand why. Because it's not anything stupidly strong or anything, so I don't know why it would only have 1 skill stock. It's kind of stupid. So this is a wide area thunder combo attack around the target. It doesn't do anything extra, so I don't know why it only has 1 skill stock. And I know that because I did the unit test play quest and it only has 1, so not the best. This is 24 hits, kind of average. The animations of it look pretty fast, but again, you can't spam it because you only have 1 skill stock. Of course, you can increase it with Purple Orb, which we got available right now, so what a coincidence. But yeah, it's not going to be that crazy. You're more than likely going to be using your skill 1, but technically her skill 3 will be her best DPS skill if you care about that, but her DPS isn't going to be that great. She's more going to be used for a support kind of unit, I think. I mean, it's like they want you to use her as a main damage dealer, but it's just not going to be good compared to current options. I don't know, it's a bit weird. But let's go on to her special next. This one is a powerful thunder combo attack to all enemies, and it also restores this unit's MP by 70% and fully restores SET, and it has plus 90,000 damage cap on this special as well. This one is 53 hits, so it sounds like a decent special, honestly, because it has some utility. It gives you MP and SET and has 53 hits and some extra damage cap. Could do some decent damage against multiple enemies, so it's not too bad. But of course, it's not the best either. It's not going to be doing too much, but it's a nice special to have for restoring MP and SET, kind of like the summer form of Labyreth as well, pretty similar. So that is all of her skills. Honestly, nothing crazy here. The one I like the most for sure is her skill 1 because of the defense debuff. I do think that's going to be quite nice. You can just keep spamming this, and the enemy should have a permanent defense debuff if you just continuously spamming skill 1. So I do like that for sure. I'm hoping it's a good chance to inflict the debuff, and I'm hoping the debuff lasts long enough. But we'll see. Now let's have a look at her traits. So this is where it gets more interesting, of course, and where you start understanding this unit's kit a lot more. So let's get right to her trait 1. First of all, thunder damage, 50% damage cap, 30,000 isn't much damage cap, and that is the main problem with this unit, lacking damage cap. She doesn't have much damage cap, it's very low. I don't know why. I mean, I know exactly the reason, but the reason, stupid reason, and I'll say the reason very soon. This is the reason. When using a skill, give target enemy laceration counts. That's the reason. That is the main reason why they gave her low damage caps, is because she has laceration. And I don't like laceration. I'll be honest, I hate laceration. It sucks. They haven't made it good yet. If they were to make it, you know, not have a damage cap, or that would be too strong, I get it, but if they were to make it more balanced and not utter garbage, then it could be a more interesting mechanic. But the way that it's done right now is just bad. We'll explain it once we go over this unit's kit more. But basically, laceration, for each skill that you use, it increases the laceration count on the enemy. And when laceration count is high enough, it activates laceration, which cuts the enemy's HP by 15%. But the reason why it's so bad is it has a cap of 30 million. And you may think that sounds decent, but no, it's bad. Because laceration, the way it's designed, is just so terribly terrible that it's terrible, you know. That's like the only way I can put it, but basically, it's not. Let's say you need to use 10 skills to activate it the first time. The next time to activate laceration is going to require a lot more than the first time, and so on. So it's going to keep requiring more and more skills, and in one battle you're only ever going to see laceration activate either up to a maximum of 3 times, because after 3 times it basically becomes impossible to activate it again. So that is why laceration sucks. And I even have some information on this. Basically, it takes just laceration itself, it takes 56 skills to activate it the first time, which is crazy. And then if you want to activate it on the 5th time, it takes like 72,000 skills, and you're like, what? That's impossible. And it is impossible, because it's not meant to be designed. It's not designed to be activated multiple times. It's only designed to be activated like once or twice, maybe 3 times if you're lucky. And then after that, it's never going to activate again. So that's the main problem with this. Like, yes, it could be good against bosses, but just a terribly designed mechanic because of it's requiring more and more skills to activate. At the start of the battle, make the magic Scorn Blood Blasphemy Ark usable once. We'll see what that does once we go over her passive skills soon. And when laceration activates from unit's attack, give that enemy Rot. Now, if you don't know what Rot is basically a tier 2 stats ailment, and we have seen this before. It's not new, but it's just very rare. I believe the only other unit that's ever had this is the base form of Cloudia. He had it on his special, I think, and it's a pretty strong ailment, but the main problem is it's not going to be good in Battleground Simulator, because the bosses have such high ailment resistance that the ailment is going to disappear after a very short amount of time. So if you don't have a reliable way to continuously inflict this ailment, then it's basically useless in Battleground Simulator, because it's only going to be active for like maybe 10 seconds if you're lucky. So it's not really used for Battleground Simulator, and most bosses are going to have some type of resistance to this ailment. So I don't think it's going to be that great, but against certain bosses it could be useful. What it does is it reduces the enemy's stats by 20%, and also reduces their attribute resistances by 20 as well. So it's a pretty good effect, it's a pretty good ailment, but the problem is inflicting it, and the enemies, you know, recovering from that ailment is usually pretty quick. So you give the enemy Rot every time you activate laceration, and you can only activate laceration basically a maximum of 3 times per stage, and it takes more and more skills to activate it. So you can see the problem in things like Background Simulator. It's just not going to be very good, because it's going to be active for like maybe 8 or 10 seconds and then disappear, and then you have to activate Laceration again to be able to inflict this ailment again for another however many seconds. You know, it's just not going to be great. Yeah, I've used APK Pure in the past. It's probably the most reliable ways to get APK on Android, I think. Times usable resets each wave. So her unique magic can only be used once, but it resets each wave. So you can technically use it once per wave, which is nice. And we'll look at that magic after the traits. So trait 2 is kind of like the base form of Labyreth, I think. And this is like more of a PvP effect, but she isn't a PvP unit, so I don't know how useful this will be. At the start of the battle, give all enemies a damage dealt minus 50% debuff for 10 seconds, which is great, very nice. And every 20 seconds after the start of the battle, give all enemies a damage dealt minus 35% debuff for 20 seconds. So basically, every single enemy is going to have a minus 50% debuff, damage dealt debuff for 10 seconds. And then there'll be a 10 seconds period of them not having any debuff. And then after those 10 seconds, they're going to get a weaker version of it, basically. Permanently, as long as this unit is alive. Because it's going to give this debuff to every enemy for 20 seconds. It lasts 20 seconds, and it gives it every 20 seconds. So it's basically permanent, as long as this unit is alive. So that's going to be quite nice. Some damage mitigation to your team is quite useful. Every enemy is going to be doing less damage, so it's going to be useful. It won't stack with the same icons as like Spirit Maiden Sarah, so that's something to keep in mind, and makes it a lot less useful. When at least one ally is alive, 5 seconds after incapacitation, use 10% of max MP to auto-revive twice per wave. So this one is interesting. So basically, if she dies and an ally is alive, after 5 seconds this unit will revive, and she can do that twice per wave, which technically you could have like her plus skeleton in PvP, but I don't recommend it. I'm just saying that could technically work and would keep reviving her, but it's not going to be that great. Like, in PvE content, you're not going to want to make the unit die on purpose, you know? And this effect really doesn't matter in PvE content, because you're most likely going to be using a support unit like Spirit Maiden Sarah in your team, who can just cast High Resurrection already, and that just makes this useless. So this is only useful if you don't have any MP to cast a Resurrection spell, which, you know, that's rarely going to be useful, honestly. When this unit is incapacitated, give a defense and mind minus 50% to debuff to the enemy that defeats this unit, which is very good. I do like that one. And this trait is basically just PvP focused. And I do like the trait for that reason, that it's got some support utility, but the rest of her kit is focused on laceration. And you kind of have a garbled mess of a kit. And that's probably the only first time you've ever heard me say that, but I'm just saying that you've got laceration, which is PvE only, and then you've got a trait 2, which is heavily PvP focused. You know, you got like just random stuff shoved together, and yes, I like this trait 2 for the debuffs, but only when this unit dies for this defense and mind debuff. And the damage dealt debuff is useful, but isn't even necessary for PvE content, because you can just use Spirit Maiden Sarah, so it's mostly here's the problem. In PvE content, this trait is gonna do absolutely nothing for you, And that is probably the reason why I don't like this, is because she's got so many things in her kit which are just kind of not very useful. This trait 2 is just going to be doing absolutely nothing most cases. I just don't like that. And the reason why I'm saying it's not going to do anything is because you don't want the unit to die on purpose, right? And the damage dealt debuff, yes, is useful, but if you're using a Spirit Maiden Sarah in your team, then it's not as useful, is it? I don't think so. Because Spirit Maiden Sarah has the same debuff when an enemy uses an attack. It's temporary, but it is still like the same debuff icon, so... You know, I don't like this trait too, honestly. For PvE content, it just doesn't make sense for me. So this could have been better, honestly. It just seems like PvP-focused traits for a PvE unit, it just doesn't make sense to me. For early game, is this unit any good? I don't think so. I'll be honest, I don't recommend anyone to get this unit unless they like this unit. But we're still going over this unit, so that could change. But first thoughts so far, I'm not that impressed. I don't really like these traits because I don't like Laceration. Nobody likes Laceration. It's a terrible mechanic. And this trait too doesn't make sense for a PvE unit. Yeah, the other forms of Labyreth are a lot better. Well, the base form is a lot better, a lot more useful long term than this form so far, which is crazy. But there is one saving grace. There is one very useful effect that I haven't talked about yet, which we're just about to get to right now, which is in her passive skills. So yes, it sounds bad at the moment, but there is one very good thing right here. Let's talk about her magic spells first. So she has a new high anima. All enemies magic and special damage dealt minus 30% only while this unit is alive. This is mostly for PvP, but you're not going to be using her in PvP because she's going to suck there, so it's not great, honestly. EX Blaze is very good, and EX Lost Tome is very good as well. One enemy minus strength, minus intelligence is going to be very useful. Thunder Menace is new. We've seen Menace skills in the past, but this one's for Thunder. So give one enemy a Thunder damage taken plus 20%, Absolute Weakness damage taken plus 20%, and Thunder damage cap taken plus 10,000 debuff for 30 seconds. It's pretty good. It requires a lot of MP, but it doesn't matter because this unit restores MP when you use her special, so it's not much of an issue, I think. And now we get on to the only thing I like about this unit is this one magic spell right here. This is the best one. So what this does is it gives one enemy a laceration count taken plus 500% debuff, which is whatever, right? But the main debuff is this one. All attribute damage taken cap plus 50,000 debuff for 20 seconds. Now, they did try to balance it to make it not stupidly overpowered, right? By making it only 20 seconds, and you can only use it once. So, it's a very strong debuff, but they nerfed it, or they basically made it more conditional to make it not as strong as what it could be. So, of course you can use this once at the start of the battle, right? For the plus 50,000 damage cap debuff, right? And it's all attribute damage cap debuff. It's an insane debuff for 20 seconds, right? But you can only use this once. You can use this once per wave. So if I go back to the traits now, this starts making a lot more sense. So at the start of the battle, you can only use this once, and it resets every wave. So you can use it once per wave, and on a boss wave you can only use it once, and you can basically use this again after you've activated Laceration. So every time you activate Laceration on the enemy, you're going to be able to use this magic spell again, which sounds good, but then you realize Laceration sucks, and that makes this a lot less useful. So I think this is going to be good for raid bosses, right? But in Battlegraph Simulator, I don't think it's going to be that good in Battlegraph Simulator, because Battlegraph Simulator lasts 3 minutes in game time, and that is a lot longer than how long you can have this debuff active for. This only lasts 20 seconds, and at maximum, you're only going to have this active for 60 seconds in the battle at maximum, if you can even activate Laceration in the battle. You can easily get this active for 40 seconds, quite easily. So I think it's going to be quite nice for very short battles, but in long battles like Battlegraph Simulator, I don't think it's going to be that good, because you're not going to be able to get this, buff active or debuff back unless you activate Laceration again, which, let me just clarify this. With all of her Laceration count in her kit, apparently it takes 5 skills to activate Laceration the first time if you inflict the debuff and everything, right? Yeah, technically you can extend that, which is nice. So it takes 5 skills, any skill, to activate Laceration the first time. Great, right? That's awesome. But the second time, it requires 26 more. So it requires 26 the second time. So that will be 31 in total to activate it a second time. Yeah. And then the third time, 156. The third time's not going to happen, is it? I don't think so. Are you going to be able to use, like, 180 skills in a battle? Probably not. And the fourth time, can you use over 1,000 skills in a battle on the one unit? No, you can't. That's not possible. So, that's the problem with Laceration. And if you're wondering where I get these numbers from, well, Tweaks made the numbers, so all credit goes to him, really. But it's, it explains a lot, and it paints a picture of why Laceration sucks so bad and why it's terrible. Because even though you're getting a bunch of Laceration counts, right, it doesn't matter, because it's still going to be like, it's still going to require like over 6,000 skills to activate it a 5th time in that battle. So, that's the problem. And if you're wondering, if you're really curious of what is the base, how many skills do you have to use to activate it 5 times normally? Well, 1.8 million skills, or 1.8 durability, meaning 72,000 skills, which, is that happening? No, it's not. Ever in your life. It's not going to happen. Good luck with that. But yeah, if it was like team-wide skills, it would have been, a bit better. And of course you could have multiple Laceration units in the team, which could work. But Laceration sucks, unfortunately. And that's going to be the conclusion I go to, is Laceration sucks. Nobody likes Laceration. It's terrible mechanic. Yeah, the enemy's going to be dead before the time you could even activate it the 3rd time, or maybe even the 2nd time, who knows. But in the ideal scenario in Battlegraph Simulator, you can maybe activate it 3 times maximum. After that, never going to activate again. So that means you could only inflict rot a maximum of 3 times, and you can only use this magic spell debuff a maximum of 4 times total. So yeah, that hopefully gives you an idea of how bad Laceration is, and why it is making this magic spell a lot worse and a lot more conditional. What does Rot do? Well, I did mention it earlier, but basically it reduces all the enemy stats by 20% and all the enemy's resistance by 20. So it's a very good ailment. You could check it on Goldmine if you really want to, but it's an ailment, and because it's an ailment, enemies in Battleground Simulator, and a lot of enemies have resistance to ailments, and they have higher, recovery time, which means they recover from ailments quicker. So it would take maybe like 10 seconds for them to recover from rots. That means you're going to have like maybe 30 seconds of rots in Battleground Simulator battle maximum out of 3 minutes. It just isn't very good uptime, is it? No, it's not very good uptime at all, but in shorter battles I think it'll be good. So far it's looking like she's a unit not made for long battles, and she's more made for shorter battles like raid bosses, I suppose. Now let's actually go more in depth to her passive skills. We have looked at her magic spells, they're pretty nice. Now let's have a look at her passive skills right down here. So Magic Up, MP Up Max, Magic Up 4 and Magic Up Max, Esoteric Up Max. These are all going to be useful, of course. More intelligence is more physical damage for her because she scales off of intelligence and strength at the same time, and she should have some sort of Thaumaturgy ring effect in her kit as well. Illusion, Auto Grand Aura, I wish it was the EX Aura. Auto Matisse, Wisdom's Protection, add 5% of intelligence to defense and mind. Auto High Magic Barrier, Auto Haste, Thunder Drive, Thunder Enhance. Yeah, that isn't great, is it? The reason why I'm stopping here is because where are the Thunder Attack Ray skills? Where are the other Thunder Drive skills? You've got no Thunder Attack Ray skills, you've got none at all. You've got like no Thunder Mega Drive or Giga Drive or anything like that. You've got none of it. You've just got the basic Thunder Drive and Thunder Enhance. Thunder Enhance is good, don't get me wrong, but she doesn't have any Thunder Attack Ray skills at all. She's lacking damage already. That's a problem, for sure. How does she compare to Shift Lelouch? I think he's still going to be better, unfortunately. Yes, maybe you could switch her out in shorter battles, but in Battleground Simulator, I think Lelouch is going to be better. Pose of Honor, Goddess Kiss, going to help for MP regen. Maglion, Thaumaturgy Ring, very nice. Armor Piercer, I don't like Armor Piercer because it's just a worse version of piercing skill, which is not that great. Dual Wield, and then we got some interesting things. This is the first time we've seen this. Now, what is this? Staff Boost Plus. So now we're getting Staff Boost Plus, Staff Mega Boost Plus. Now, you may be like, what do these do? Is she a mage? Well, learn to read, first of all, but basically, Staff Boost Plus skills increase physical damage and intelligence. These are very strong, honestly. I hope these become learnable skills on SSR Arks in the future, because I can see these being very useful, for sure, because there are certain units that scale off of intelligence that you could use a staff on. Not that many, but a couple. Of course there aren't that many, like hardly any good staffs for physical damage, but there is the Kingdom of Science flag, which is the best one, which I hope that gets a re when it really needs it. I really want it, but anyways. Staff Boost Plus, more physical damage, more intelligence. Staff Mega Boost Plus, 25% physical damage, 2000 damage cap, 10% intelligence. So it's a bit weird that you're getting staff boosts that increase physical damage, but it's nice to have this. I think this could be interesting on future, physical damage dealers. They can give them staff boost plus skills, but what sucks is you can't teach her staff high boost plus, because that doesn't exist yet. So that's the problem, is you can't even give her weapon boost skills, well, staff boost skills. Obviously you could have a second weapon like a sword and give sword boost, but you can't be giving staff boost because she doesn't want magic damage, she wants physical damage. So she's already lacking quite a bit of damage already, and I don't like that. It is terrible. Giant Killing 5, more damage and damage cap to bosses. Giant Shield 2, take less damage from bosses. Phantasma, enemy attention drawn, -1 chance to evade physical attacks, which it will stack with Illusion. Basically just another chance to evading, which is nice. Goddess Advocate, because she is an advocate of God, of course. Chance to nullify critical damage. Skill and special attacks have a chance to insta-kill. And then we get onto her unique skills, her new ones, so this should be interesting. So the first one here, at the start of battle, give all enemies a thunder resistance -20 debuff. And when this unit is incapacitated, give Spirit Riot and thunder resistance -20 debuff to the enemy that defeats the unit. Again, another effect that only happens when the unit is killed by an enemy. We don't like that for PvE content. In PvP, yes, it could work, but she's not going to work in PvP. She's definitely not, because she's lacking damage. Like, yes, you could probably use her as a support, but is it even going to fit in your teams? Probably not. I don't see it happening. And the next one is just stupid garbage laceration stuff. Laceration counts plus 400% when it activates on targets. More cap. And increase thunder damage by 30%, damage cap by 20,000 is the only good thing about the skill. Next skill, damage taken -35%, damage taken from human types -30%, which is nice, but you don't need this on a dual damage dealer that is already going to be squishy anyways. So this isn't even gonna help. I'm just disappointed at this point. I'm just not happy with this kit. I don't like it. The next one, more intelligence and MP by 20%, which is nice. Duration of debuffs from units' active skills plus 15%, which this is going to help, because more duration of debuffs is going to increase the duration of Thunder Menace and this one as well, so, and all of these, apart from Animo, because that's permanent unless those units dies, so that is going to be useful. And more special damage by 100%. Alright, okay, sure. And then the 6 enhanced skills, chance to nullify physical damage, more duration of debuffs from active skills is great. Boost HP and intelligence by 20%. Staff Mastery 2, more physical damage 20%, damage cap 7,500. Long range attack breakthrough is, or limit burst, whatever. 6,000 more damage cap based on distance. And then 2 completely useless skills, because it's to do with laceration. Anything to do with laceration sucks. That's the, I try not to be too negative, but just when I see this unit's kit, I'm just not happy, you know. Boost laceration count 300%, boost laceration cap by 5 million, I think, yeah. It's, you know, yeah, like, you know, I don't even know what to say at this point, other than I'm disappointed, because they could have made this unit a lot better, but unfortunately, this unit is heavily focused on a terrible mechanic, laceration, that is designed so badly that it becomes, you know, just not good. Yeah, she doesn't even hit damage cap in the unit test playquest unless you use the debuffs. That's a problem. So that's a big alarm bells going off. It's a big problem. There are too many problems with this unit, and now if you don't see it yet, this is why I'm skipping this banner entirely. I'm not doing any summons today, because I don't see the value in this unit apart from her debuffs. I think if you just ignore her as a damage dealer, okay, if I just get that out of my head right now and just focus only on the supportive buffs that you're getting, let's just have a look at those. So what exactly you're getting is, of course, the damage dealt debuffs and the defense and mind debuff when an enemy kills this unit, which could be useful in PvP content for sure. And of course you've got Thunder Menace, which is great, but currently we don't have any meta thunder damage dealers, so that's not going to be useful yet. Maybe in the future. EX Blazer, EX Lost Toma is pretty useful. Anima don't really care. This one is very good for the all attribute damage taken cap plus 50,000 for 20 seconds, but it's just only going to be useful, only going to be better than existing options in Battleground Simulator. It's not going to be good in Battleground Simulator really, because that lasts too long. It's only going to be good in short battles. Yeah, if it was a unique icon, it could have been insanely strong, but yeah, that's kind of all of her supportive skills, isn't it? And she's also got the Thunder Resistance debuff, which is quite nice. And it gives Spirit Riot and Thunder Resistance debuff to enemy that defeats a unit. Now, here's the problem, right? Here's the problem. Here's the problem. If you're thinking PvP, right? PvP, you are giving a debuff to the enemy that defeats you, but that debuff is making the enemy take more damage. Think about that for a second, okay? If a most damage dealers are squishy, like Celestia, right? If you're giving him a defense and mind debuff, doesn't matter. He's gonna die from any basic attack anyways. Who cares? Pretty useless, right? So if it would have been a different situation if this debuff went to the tank, right? If this defense and mind debuff could go to the enemy tank, or if she gets killed by a Archbeing Megius, then yes, it'll be useful. But if like a squishy unit like Celestia kills her, and Celestia gets a defense and mind debuff, and the Thunder Resistance debuff, and Spirit Riot, you're like, you don't actually need it. It doesn't matter. It's kind of useless, right? That's the problem. It's like a lot of these effects are just why have them if they're not going to be useful in when the content where you're going to be using the unit in it not being useful in that scenario. I mean, technically, if a Shift-Log Zeus kills her too, it could be useful because he can be quite tanky, but, you know, or also another problem, Amelia, right? If Amelia kills this form of Labyreth, Amelia getting a defense and mind debuff doesn't matter. She's squishy anyway, she's going to die from anything anyway, so why does it matter that she gets a defense and mind debuff and a thunder resistant debuff? It doesn't matter. That's why I don't like this. Like, there's so much in this kit that I don't like, and it makes me annoyed. It just makes me so frustrated that there's a lot in this unit's kit that just is pretty useless, right? And in the ideal places where you would consider using it, it's just not useful, right? So, yeah. I don't like it. I don't like this unit. What they've done with her kit is just all over the place and just badly designed. Yes, she isn't going to be terrible. I'm probably being a bit overly negative, but she is still going to be better than a young Bayland, right? She's still going to be better than a young Bayland, of course, but you know, there's a very low bar, so when you got a bar that low, of course, it's going to be quite easy to go above that bar, but I'm just saying, she could be useful, right? For damage cap, taking debuff, right? That's the most useful thing here. And if you have a Thunder damage dealer in your team, technically they'll get plus 60,000 damage cap. For a dual wield damage dealer, that's insane. That's insanely high. But that's the only value I see in this unit, is these two magic spells. That's the only thing I see. Yeah, she gives a damage dealt debuff, but the problem is that this damage dealt debuff is the same icon as Spirit Maiden Sarah's debuff that does the same thing. And I know that's RNG, but it's like 80% chance or something very high. I don't remember the chance, but it's a very high chance. It might be, I think it's 50% chance when an enemy uses a skill that they get a minus 50% damage dealt debuff. So if you have Spirit Maiden Sarah in the team, this debuff is basically useless in most cases. That's the problem. It's gonna overwrite Spirit Maiden Sarah's debuff, and Spirit Maiden Sarah's debuff would overwrite hers, so they don't work well together. That's the biggest problem, and Spirit Maiden Sarah are most likely gonna want to use her instead. and you're not going to want to use them in the same team because they don't work together. Yeah, I know she's got some good debuffs. I think that's her only saving grace. The only good thing about her is that she has the defense minus 50% debuff, and intelligence and strength debuff, Thunder Menace, and this minus, this plus 30,000 damage cap debuff as well. All of these are good stuff, but that's about it, right? Apart from that, the rest of her kit is pretty bad. So I don't see enough value in this unit. If you like this unit, do what you like, but what we do here is we look at the unit's kit, and that is the most important thing. Yeah, if you use her for skill 1, you probably won't be using her normal attacks or SCT battery, but she isn't going to be used as an SCT battery. Here's the most ideal team that I can think of. Here's the most ideal team I could think of that she could fit in. One main physical damage dealer, Archbeing Labyreth as the support slash sub DPS units debuffer, right? And then you've got Insight Lena for SCT battery, and then your final unit can be the ailment units. Obviously it requires 4 units, but that's like the most ideal team I could think of for a 4-team team, with her in it. That's the only team I can think of, is her with a physical damage dealer and an SCT battery unit and an ailment unit. Yes, she could work as a support, I can see that, but I think she's going to be worse in Battleground Simulator. So I don't like his unit's kit. I will come back to this unit and I'll try her out in the unit test play quest to get you to understand how bad she is, but yeah, she would be in place of a Telestio or Shifler Luch for sure, basically. But in Battleground Simulator, I would much rather use Shifler Luch instead of her. Main reason being, I just think Shifler Luch is better for Battleground Simulator, because he can also debuff, and he also has his unique debuff. As well as that, he can also inflict ailments if you build him for normal attacks, so I feel like he's going to have more value. I would much rather use Shifler Luch instead of Archbeing Labyreth, and she requires SET to use her skills. Yes, she restores SET on her special, but I think her base skill stocks are kind of low. Yeah, I mean, she might work against Kraken. You have her with a main damage dealer, and then an ailment unit and a support SCT back unit like Lena. It could work, but here's the problem though. You're going to be juggling your SCT battery units. You're going to be juggling your Honey Elixir between Archbeing Labyreth and your main damage dealer. And if you're using Nero, then it becomes even more difficult. Then you've got 3 damage dealers in the team, which becomes a hell of a lot more difficult to manage. So I just think using Shifler Luch is a lot easier and just a lot better for Battleground Simulator. And the reason why I mention Battleground Simulator so much is because that is the main endgame content that I think about, and the most important endgame content I think, because that has long-term account progression with crests, so I consider that to be quite important endgame content. So if the fact that she doesn't really work in there and Shifler Luch is better, just makes me feel like she's not going to be necessary. Yeah, it's going to be hard to replace Emperor Lelouch, because he's so good still. I just don't think she's going to fit. Because you could have I was originally thinking a team like Christmas Rem, Archbeing Labyreth, base form of Insight Nero, and Insight Lena. I was thinking of that team in Battleground Simulator, but the problem with that team is it's got 3 physical damage dealers, and you're going to have to juggle Honey Elixir between 3 physical damage dealers, and I just don't think that's going to be that fun, and it's going to be quite difficult. It's going to have a high difficulty ceiling to manage 3 physical damage dealers. I would much rather replace Archbeing Labyreth with Shifler Luch, who is more than likely going to be a lot better to use, and a lot easier to use, because then you can just focus on those two main damage dealers. Well, your main damage dealer and Nero, who can also do good damage, so, and do elements. So I would just, you know, I don't see myself ever using this unit, honestly. A shift the rear, yeah, right. If that happens, I probably wouldn't be surprised, but you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll come back to this unit very soon in the showcase a bit later on. Let's have a look at the Ark next. So this is a new SSR Ark. Of course, you don't need to summon for it because it is in the permanent ticket gacha now, and every future ban that's going to be in there too. So how useful is this? Let's have a look. So the trait on this one is a bit weird, because when this equipment is set, it reduces your intelligence and mind at the start of the battle by 15%, but increases your strength by 35%. And if you don't know what this is the Archbeing reward, by the way. So you have to have the Archbeing reward equipped to even get this bonus of the trait. Which isn't the best, but the strength is pretty good. Skill, attribute, weakness, damage, 30%, gives stun to an enemy that defeats the unit. Yeah, can it work many times? The give stun to the enemy that defeats the unit. Yeah, I believe this. It doesn't have a limit. It doesn't say once per wave. So this means every single time this unit dies, it gives the enemy stun, but of course it's not guaranteed. If they have 0 resistance, then it will be guaranteed. If they have resistance or nil, then it's not gonna... If they have resistance, then it's a random chance. If they have nil, then you obviously can't inflict it, but... This on Skeleton could be nice, but the problem is you'd probably rather have a Revive Arc on him. But, you know, this could be interesting. This effect of giving stun could be good. Yeah, the best arena team just... There isn't one best arena team, really. It just depends on what you're up against. But there are, like, a couple of really good units, like Amelia, Archbeing, Magus, and Shiftlog there, so the 3 best units currently for arena. This trait... I think this trait is decent, honestly. Because 35% strength and giving you skill, weakness, damage... 30% isn't bad, and giving stun to enemy that defeats the unit could be interesting. So it's an interesting trait for an SSR Ark, I think. Now let's have a look at the learnable skills. You've got Intelligence Plus. It just gives you 100 intelligence. Is that worth 2 SC? Would I rather use this than a Magic Up skill? Probably not. I don't... Why? Well, I don't know. 100 seems low to me. What? It's a bit weird. It's you know, why? I just have many questions on this. Like, why 100 intelligence just seems too low. I mean, of course, the reason why it could be useful is all of your other intelligence up skills are going to improve this as well. So it's going to put this 100 intelligence and increase it. So let's say you have a 10% intelligence increase. It's going to basically make this skill give you 110 intelligence, basically. So it could be useful, I suppose, but if you want to maximize your intelligence, maybe. But I don't know. Blind Research we've seen before. I think this one we've seen before. I don't remember. It might be new. When afflicted with a status ailment, increase physical and special damage by 20%. It's okay. Yeah, Shiftlog DS rerun's coming very soon. Keep an eye out for that for sure. This one could be interesting. I don't ever see myself using it though. High Nemesis we've seen before. Plant Saber, whatever. Unless you're up against a plant boss, I suppose. Yeah, it could be decent because it multiplies with intelligence ups, yeah. And then I think here's the most interesting skill here. The most interesting skill in this arc is this one. This is basically Berserker, but for magic. It's exactly that. Continuously cut HP, but increase magic damage by 30%. This one's going to be very good. I like this one a lot. Do you know why? More magic damage for Amelia. Now I want it. Now I just must have it. I want to get it now because I've said that. But yeah, this is going to be a very good skill because 8 SC for 30% magic damage. Very good. Even more magic damage for Amelia. She didn't need it, but sure, why not? And Shiflenius, any mage can get 30% more magic damage. Yeah, this is a very good skill. Honestly, I'm gonna use some tickets to try and get this in a moment because I would like to have Mad Mage. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a very good skill. So it is nice to have this on a permanent SSR Ark. I do like that. And I would like to have this skill. It's going to be quite useful. And you can technically stack this with Berserker. Now, why would you want to do that? You're wondering. Well, because for HP reduction builds, you're going to have Berserker and Mad Mage both reducing your HP. So you could have a bunch of HP reduction. It's not expensive though, is it? Well, for the magic damage, it's not expensive, but just for reducing HP, yeah, it's probably a bit expensive. But if you're using it on a support, probably doesn't matter. It kind of depends, really. But yeah, it could be interesting to mess around with more HP reduction, but I mostly just see myself using this for the magic damage. I think it's going to be great. I just want to use it on Amelia right now. And Linus as well, and just any mage, it's going to be really good. Yeah, for guild battles mostly, on your attack team, there's a strategy that a lot of people know about with reducing your HP to force the AI to cast Glass Record or Poem of the Star Readers, whatever you have. It basically just forces their AI to cast because of HP reduction, the unit being a low HP. It's an interesting strategy. A lot of people use it. It can be useful for that, but this is mostly for magic damage. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. Yeah, Empress Massacre, I don't have that, but some people that have that could mess around with it. I never really cared about that, but yeah, some people could be interested with doing that. Now let's have a look at the Arcade rewards. This accessory, I think it's interesting. It could be decent, honestly. HP strength, defense. You take 10% more damage, but you increase physical damage by 20%. The biggest problem with this accessory is it gives stun weakness. Obviously, you take more damage as well, but the stun weakness just kind of sucks. Nobody's going to be using this in PvP, I think, because you don't want to be weak to stun, or you don't want to reduce your stun resistance again. Because some people, there are rare teams that use element teams, so I mean, technically you could use it on like a Telesteel or someone, but yeah, there are better options, but it's not a bad option. And I could see myself using this for PvE content if I desperately wanted to maximize damage, technically. But it's not the best, because it comes with too many downsides, I think. The stun weakness and the 10% more damage taken. Does it make up for the 20% physical damage? Probably not. I don't know. If it was... yeah, I think it's decent. It's not bad. I could see myself using it sometimes, but it's not something I would use all the time. And this is the accessory that you would use with the Arc traits to give you more strength. So maybe it could be good for that, but I wouldn't use it because I would just rather use the, Susanoo Arc, Susanoo, whatever. Susanoo. I'd rather use that because it's just much better in every way. But still, it's a decent option sometimes, I suppose. So I just really want Mad Mage. I think this banner isn't worth pulling on at all. Nobody should be pulling on this banner because of the current banners that are going on right now are better than this. But I will go over the current banners and stuff in a moment. Let's have a look at her paid equipment first of all. So she has 2 paid equipments, thankfully. Not 1, it's 2. That's great. I don't think they're anything amazing, but let's see. Strength, intelligence, pretty nice stats. MP, mind. Good stats for a weapon, honestly. And of course it's going to be a staff, because she does have staff boost plus skills in her kit. Thunder skill and special damage 35%. Laceration count given plus 100% when hitting on weakness with Thunder. Increased damage cap by 7,000. It's good, but not. If it wasn't on Archbeing Labyreth, then it would have been good. But it's for a unit that isn't very good. So yeah, it's a good staff, but the reason why it's good is because lack of free-to-play options. If there were more free-to-play options, this would be like not very good to get, but I don't recommend getting any of these because the unit just isn't that good to begin with. So, but I can say it's pretty. The damage cap's pretty good for a double damage dealer, but it's not going to save her. Nothing's going to save her at this point. This accessory seems pretty nice. I would probably prefer this one though. MP defense, mind, intelligence. More MP and intelligence by 5%. When HP hits 0, auto revive restore HP by 50% once per wave. Duration of debuffs plus 10%. This one is a lot more useful, honestly. I would prefer the accessory over the weapon. It's just a lot more useful. Long-term value for this accessory, for sure. It's a lot more useful for the debuff duration. And the auto revive could be useful if you're planning on using her in PvP, or if you want to try and keep getting this unit killed, then maybe. Yeah, debuff duration is always nice. And it also gives curse resistance, which she desperately needed, and some earth and fire resistance, so it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. This is the only one I would consider getting. If you plan on using her, then this is the only one I would consider getting. But don't get any of them, because she's not worth getting any of these, honestly. I don't think many people are going to be getting these because she's an underwhelming unit. So yeah, it also applies to Ark skills, which is quite nice. I do like that. Honestly, I don't think I've paid attention to that, but it's pretty good. Like for Susanoo, it's pretty great for sure. Yeah, more for PvP, but the duration. Yeah, I don't get any of these. If you're going to be picking one, then the accessory's better. I highly doubt that they make Laceration interesting, unless they completely rework it, because right now, Laceration just terrible, awful. I don't have any hopes. I'm not going to get my hopes up for them adjusting Laceration, but you never know, I suppose. Because it's just a mechanic and not a separate damage, type. So they could just completely ignore it and forget about it and never touch it again. You never know. They could do that. Yeah, the funny thing about Honey Elixir is when Honey Elixir came out, when this game, that was like in the first year of the game, people said it sucks because it required 200 MP, which at the time was a lot, and we had no reliable way to get it back at the time. But things have changed, and now it's stupidly overpowered, and is the best skill in the game. So, yeah. Well, unfortunately, Laceration at its current state is just bad in every single way. Now let's have a look at all of these banners and use a couple tickets, I suppose, see if we can get the Ark. Would be nice, probably not going to happen. So, current banners that are going on right now, I do want to cover all of these. Of course, you've got the new banner. Just ignore this banner. Nobody likes this banner because I don't see enough value in this banner to pull for anything in this banner, so you can just skip this one easily. And we've still got Moment's Archbeing Labyreth. He is incredibly strong, by the way. If you don't have him yet, he's quite a useful unit. He is insanely strong in PvP. he can counter Shift-Log Zeus a lot of the time if you have him maxed out. He can be quite strong, and he's very good in PvE as well. So he's a good unit to have if you're looking for a physical damage dealer or someone that can work in arena or guild battles. Then he's a good unit to get right now. So highly recommend to get him if you care about, you know, meta stuff. Yeah, it can be good, and I used him in time trial. Was pretty good, honestly. And yeah, for arena, he's pretty much a must-have right now. I mean, technically you could, you know, work around it, but if you're up against a fully maxed out Megas, it's kind of difficult to deal with him because he can. My current Megas build in arena can tank Amelia and Shift-Log Zeus, so it's pretty insane. Yeah, I don't really know who Balin targets. I just kind of spam skills and hope, you know. I think he targets dark damage dealers, but I don't remember. And we've also got these new banners, which I'll have a look at in a moment. I'll do that last. And we've still got the collab for another week. Highly recommend. Yeah, for newer players, he's a lot more difficult to build. A Shift-Log Zeus might be easier to build. Potentially. I don't know, they both require limited stuff, but yeah. This still has another week left. Highly recommend to get as many things as you can from this banner. My priority, I'm going to say this one more time, must have Devil May Cry Mobile Office, must have it right now. Get it now if you don't have it yet. You've got a week left, time is running out, week left, must have this. Devil May Cry 5, if you care about PvP, this one's a good pickup for the Revive Arc. And Time to Kick Some Ass is a good skill as well, if you need the battle start buff, it's pretty nice. And V is a very useful unit, for sure. Try to get him if you can, he's good long term. And Insight Nero is very strong. He's amazing for Battleground Simulator. If you care about Battleground Simulator, make sure to get him, because he's going to allow you to push Battleground Simulator a lot more, so highly recommend to get him if you can. Yeah, anyone who leaves this collab without Mobile Office should just question everything that they've done, ever. Because why would you not get Purple Orb? Even if you don't think you're going to be using it, have it just in case. Yeah, I did compare V and Melee in my live stream of this collab. Basically, they're both kind of similar. Both have their advantages. V being a long-range unit can have its advantage over Melee in some cases, and you know, long-range normal attack is pretty useful. He can stay out of, you know, danger, and can be more useful sometimes. You know, you've got your advantage for both units really, so it kind of depends on the team you're using. But yeah, V is like almost a must-have. Yeah, V is pretty good SCT battery. I haven't used him like that personally, but I can picture it because he can dual wield, and he has, you know, high intelligence stats. So yeah, it's going to be quite nice with normal attacks. He's my #1 pick for units, and then Nero. Virgil, I've tried to get him, but honestly, don't need him. I think I would like Virgil because he's fun, but I'm just doing these daily paid pulls. I'm not doing any more pulls on this banner. I'm just going to be seeing if I can get anything else. But yeah, that's this banner. Try and get as much as you can. The only things that you should even consider getting is Mobile Office, Devil May Cry 5, V and Nero. I think everything else is not necessary. And Demon Gun and Lilibet is a decent banner if you're new. This could be a decent banner because Lilibet is pretty good for new players. So if you're just starting, she might be the best unit you can get if you're just starting, because of her SCT regen and just easy to use, very easy to use unit. And it's got a pretty strong arc in here too, so it's not a bad banner. Yeah, Megas is better, unfortunately. I was hoping Virgil was gonna be like very good, but he is good, he's just not. Unfortunately, Megas came out just before him. That was just unfortunate timing and just sucks. If Virgil came out first, I probably would have pulled for him. You know, it's crazy. Mine's maxed out too. Best arc for V just kind of depends, but more research chance is a good idea if you want more ailments chance. And now let's have a look at these new banners. So these are the main banners that they've released in the update today. I do want to make sure to cover these because a lot of people are going to be interested in if these are worth it. I do think these are worth it, but it depends on what you have on your account already. So for each person, it's going to vary depending on what you have. Yeah, using certain units forever isn't always gonna happen, but Insight does make it, does allow you to use older units. So let's have a look at the female banner first. So basically, this banner has 2 laps. The first lap, you spend 15,000 free crystals, you get 1 guaranteed female unit. Now, by the way, it's random, and it includes permanent units, so you're most likely going to get a unit that you didn't want from this, because it's got no rate up. So you're mostly going to be doing this banner for 30,000 crystals to get this select ticket. And what you can use this select ticket on is a bunch of limited units. Most of these aren't that useful though. Like Saintly Mia, all of these units aren't meta, and I wouldn't say is worth 30,000 free crystals really. None of these are really worth it. The units that are worth getting for 30,000 is Spirit Maiden Sarah, if you don't have her yet for some reason, is definitely worth 30,000 free crystals. The only reason why this banner is 30,000 instead of 15,000 is because it includes limited units, and it's always been 30,000 for limited units in the banner. For only Descent of Heroes ones, it's been 15,000, but because this also includes the limited units, that is why it is 30,000 for the selector instead. So I would highly recommend to get Spirit Maiden Sarah if you don't have her. If you didn't get her from the Star Dash banner for some reason, then you can get her from here for 30,000, which is a steal. Everyone get her if you don't already have her yet. Everyone should have Spirit Maiden Sarah on your account right now. She's still the best support in the game by a mile, so high investment there. And Archbeing melee technically, but because V is currently available, it depends. Like, having an ailment unit is useful to have for Battleground Simulator, but is it worth 30,000 free crystals? It depends if you have her and what you already have. If you already have V and Nero, then you probably don't. It's probably not worth it. Base form of Labyreth, Demon Plate Alice, probably not worth it. Most of these units are not worth it, honestly. Saintly Theria, maybe. Maybe not, actually. I don't actually use her that much, so it's probably not worth it. Yeah, most of these female units are not worth it. I'll be honest. Most of these female units you don't need. The only one you really need is Spirit Maiden Sarah, and everyone else isn't really necessary. Honestly. Like, yes, Archbeing Melee would be very useful, and Lilahar would be useful, and Base Form of Labyreth would be useful for PvP, but are they necessary? Probably not, unless you have literally nothing. Is Lilahar still useful if you have Shift Lenius? That's the thing, is if you have Shift Lenius, no point getting Lilahar, you don't need her. And if you're missing Shift Lenius and Lilahar, yeah, so nobody needs to pull for Lilahar, just don't get her. She's not worth 30,000 because you know why? You can spend the 30,000 for Shift Lenius instead. So now let's have a look at the other banner. This banner is a lot more interesting in my opinion. I prefer the male banner because it's got a lot more useful units. So I've got a lot more male units than female units, which is funny because most female units are limited. So there are a lot more useful units in here. You've got Dark Holy Knight Ruto. If you care about PvP, he's a very good pickup. If you care about arena or guild battles, he's a unit that you should probably get if you care about PvP in any way, because 30,000 to get him guaranteed is pretty good, in my opinion. Onways fell off very hard, unfortunately. He isn't used anymore, so not worth it. Silver Society Linus is the #1 most useful unit here, and everyone should get him if you don't really have him. He's very good. He's amazing, so highly recommend to get him if you don't already have him yet. He's the best mage in the game still, so highly recommend to get him. Balezar is probably not worth the 30,000, but he is pretty strong still, can be used. He's still the strongest damage dealer for guild battles on your attack team, and it can be used in PvE content too, but he's not super meta like he used to be, but he's still useful. So if you get him on the way to your Silver Society Linus, it's great, but I wouldn't consider spending 30,000 for him. I don't think it's worth it. Between Balezar and Roland, they're both... I mean, Roland has higher DPS, but Balezar can be used in PvP and has his charisma. So I think Balezar is probably a bit more useful long term than Roland's, but they're both... Roland's kind of outdated at this point. There are a lot better options than Roland now. We've got, you know, current banners going on right now. We've got Moments Archbeing Labyreth on right now, which is going to be better than Roland's in every way, so it's not worth getting Roland. He's not that great anymore, unfortunately. Leonardo's pretty useful for freeze in Battleground Simulator against that one Reaper boss, but probably not worth 30,000. I think the only notable units are going to be Silver Society Linus, Dark Holy Knight Ruto if you care about PvP. I think those are the only two I would say is worth 30,000 free crystals. Apart from that, the other units you probably don't need, probably not worth it, honestly. So yeah, I would prioritize getting Spirit Maiden Sarah and Silver Society Linus on your account. Everyone should try and get both of those on your account because they're very useful for basically all of content in the game, pretty much. Yeah, that could be interesting. Magus with Leonardo, I've seen that. I haven't tried it myself because I prefer using other HP reduction skills like Magus's Charisma plus Militia. I like doing that. You don't... Attributes, you don't need a damage dealer for each element. It doesn't matter in this game. I mean, yes, it can matter in some situations, but the unit being strong matters more than the actual elements. Let's say you have a Christmas Rem, but you're going up against a boss that has 50 dark resistance, but minus 20 fire resistance, for instance. You would still be better off using Christmas Rem and reducing dark resistance over a below average fire unit, you know? So that's the thing, is you can easily reduce resistance or ignore resistance with Trishula. So that is everything in this trading space. Honestly, not too many units I would consider trading for. I think most of these limited units in here are not worth getting for 30,000 because they are mostly damage dealers that have been power crept at this point and are just outdated until they get insight eventually. Who knows, maybe that'll happen. But yeah, I don't consider them worth it. Is Summon a Breath worth 30,000 free crystals? I don't know the answer to that one, honestly. I would say probably not because of existing options. I mean, yeah, a lot of people think she's bad. I am not one of those people. I think she's decent, quite useful, but I understand she's underwhelming, but ailments plus some team damage isn't bad. And some supportive skills. I've used her sometimes, but it's probably not worth it. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. It isn't too many to trade for, really, but the most notable ones, I think the main three being Spirit Maiden Sarah, Dark Holy Knight Ruto, and obviously Silver Society Legion are the best ones. Yeah, I've seen some use her in Arena, but every single time I've seen her in Arena, I've won. So that doesn't really make me, confident that she's any good. I've never lost to Summer Labyreth in my life. So yeah, let's use a few tickets, okay? That's all the summons we're going to be doing. I'm just going to be using a few tickets to try and get the Ark, because I would like to get the Mad Mage skill. That would be very nice to have. And then we'll start showcasing the unit. So I'm just going to be using probably my normal tickets and guaranteed SSR Ark tickets just to see if we can get the new one. I know it's not going to happen, very small chance, but I might as well give it a chance, give it a try, because why not? I don't know why I'm even saving these tickets, because, I mean, maybe for future permanent units, if that even happens. Yeah, I'll use these first, I suppose. Not going to be very long, I just want to use these tickets, and then we'll start showcasing the units. No point watching these animations when you know it is a guaranteed, and it's probably going to be a dupe anyways, but never know. The new Ark is the only one I'm missing. There's 3 Arks, but it's not the new one. The new one is the only one I don't have. I have everything else, I think. I'll just use a couple tickets. Or all of them, I don't know, we'll see. I'd like to get it, so I'll probably just use all the basic tickets I have, I don't know. Just very quickly. I don't think the animations or anything matter. It just needs to appear new. But I don't think that's going to happen. It's like a 0 point whatever chance. I'll probably save the unit tickets and use the normal ones. Unit tickets for whenever a new permanent unit gets added in there. Yeah, it's just going to be dupes. All of the time, pretty much. The only useful dupe, I think, would be Calistio, probably. Or nothing. That could be a thing too. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we got a lot of free pulls, so it's likely you're going to get it eventually, but there's a beach. No point watching it when you know it doesn't matter, because just see. Yeah, I'm just going to use these last 10 and I'm going to stop. And I'll save the rest of those tickets. Yeah, of course. Kind of what you expected. I like saving those. I'm going to save those for now. No reason to do any more pulls, really. Yeah, it's nice to have a period, well, a 2-week period of saving. It is nice. It's going to be kind of a chill 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, there's been a lot going on over the past few months. There's been a lot of meta units and stuff recently, so it is nice to have a break. Yeah, Shift Log Zeus coming very soon is going to be a good pull for sure. Yeah, it would have been nice if they added more to that event, but it is what it is. So yeah, we'll leave that there. Shivlog's can be used in PvE content. I've been using him there a lot. So he isn't just like a arena unit, it can be used outside of it too, so he's a good unit investment. I've even used him in a Battlegraph Simulator sometimes. I haven't recently because I've been using Nero instead, but still pretty good. He can be a auto-friendly Histomio unit. Now let's start having a look at the new units in the unit test playquest, because I do want to have a look at this. Yeah, he's just the easiest unit to use in Histomio. The easiest one. Because he's tanky and can do good damage. It's just the easiest one to use, sure. So let's try out Archbeing Labyreth. Prepare to be disappointed because it's not going to be very good. I can say it. Obviously paid equipment and stuff, we know. Base skills, and let's try her out. See how it goes. It's going to go terribly. But I want to show you how she is in practice. Yeah, certain bosses can be quite tanky. So, she is a long range unit. So of course you're going to have a long range normal attack. And skill 1 inflicts... I wonder if it inflicts a debuff every time. Oh. Yeah, the DPS isn't going to be great. Don't expect any crazy DPS on here. But look at her skill stocks. 531. It's not the best skill stocks, but skill 1 is okay. Did that activate Laceration? Right there. And now the enemy has Rot, which cuts stats, movement speed, and resistances. So now they've got minus 20 resistance to everything and minus stats. So that's nice. She's still not hitting damage cap, by the way, which is concerning considering the enemy has minus 50% defense debuff and minus 120 thunder resistance, and she's still not hitting damage cap. It is concerning. That's because she's severely lacking damage modifiers. Severely lacking damage modifiers. Anyways, next skill, skill 2, actually hits damage cap for once. It's a bit faster, but it's not impressive. Yeah, that's the main problem is, why do they just... I swear Adis keeps thinking that Laceration is this stupidly strong thing, and they are just blinded by the people that are saying it's trash. They're just not aware of it. I don't know why, but it just feels like to me that they think Laceration's good, but it's not. It's just not. So they're reducing the damage caps on the units to make up for the fact that Laceration is strong in their eyes, but it's not. So you end up with a garbage unit at the end of the day. Now skill 3 is cool, but that's not good, Chief. That's very bad. Do you know why? Her skill 2 has higher damage modifiers, and her skill 3 is hitting less damage cap than skill 2. I just don't, I'm not, okay, let's just try again. I'm going to start using debuffs and stuff, okay? Yeah, that's the problem, is SCT battery don't work when... She's got a lot of MP, 953, interestingly. So now let's start using debuffs, okay? Maybe this gets better. So you're going to be using this one, and then Thunder Menace. Yeah, you know what? The perfect unit to pair with Archbeing Labyreth is Guardian Angel Lukel. because she's a thunder damage dealer and a dual wield unit, they're going to be perfect for each other because she has a time stop special. They're going to work very well together, I think. Anyways, let's have a look at her skills now. I've used those 2 debuffs, which makes the enemy take more damage and damage cap. And now she's going to hit damage cap. Or not. Where's the damage? Show me the damage. 100 and... You know, it's okay, but it's just not good enough, you know. That's still not hitting damage cap. The skill 2 is hitting damage cap. Skill 3 is not hitting damage cap. The skill 1 is not hitting damage cap. Skill 2 is hitting damage cap now because the debuff wore off. And now that one is hitting damage cap. And that one is too. And use this again. And now you're not hitting damage cap anymore. Is it just... I'm so disappointed in this unit. It's not even funny. Oh god. Okay, well, let's do this again. I'm gonna use a special this time, but like, what can I say? Like, what I'm seeing is just below average damage caps, low damage modifiers on her skill 1 and skill 3, which aren't even hitting damage cap against an enemy that has a bunch of debuffs, by the way, and has 100 weakness. Or maybe even higher than that, actually. Like 140, technically. It's terrible. Awful. Let's try and get the defense debuff from the skill 1, first of all. And then use her special. There it is. And also rot as well. Yeah. If I doubt you can charge it in PvP. I doubt it. And even if you can, what's she gonna do afterwards, right? What's she gonna do after you use a special? No damage, that's for sure. That's a fact. And oh, you're just coping. You're coping. It's not. She's not gonna work. Okay. Okay. You completely missed. I do like the animation of the skill 3. Like I like it. Okay, because it's like planets. It's like a solar system. You see, I like it, but it's got 1 skill stock in it. I don't know why. Well, if it does have fast charging, then maybe it could be useful, but oh. I mean, like, going from the review to the showcase doesn't change my mind over the fact that this unit's bad, okay? Like, they know everyone has Purple Orb now, so they're forcing you to use it on this unit. Yeah, I feel like she's not meant to be a damage dealer. That's what I think. She's not meant to be a damage dealer, because the lack of damage is not even funny. It's just so bad. Her damage is so bad that there's no way that she's meant to be a damage dealer. Because it's just so bad. And I'm just so disappointed that it's just this bad. Actually, I'm not disappointed, I'm just shocked of why. I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of reasons of why it's this bad, but this is probably why Adis won't, you know, reach out to me, because I'm overly critical of everything, okay? All these units, I'm not going to blindly say this unit is good, because if it's not, I'm going to say it, you know? So, even though Cloudia does their own live streams and talks over the units and says, covers stuff like I do, I actually give truthful reviews and facts about everything, unlike what they do. Yeah, she's definitely a support. She's definitely more of a support unit, and her design is very cool. But unfortunately, she's going to be a bad damage dealer. But if you ignore her as a damage dealer and just use her as support, I think she'll be okay, honestly. Like, I think she could be fun with Guardian Angel Lukel. Build her up. If she gets insight, which she will eventually, when she gets insight, I think Archbeing Labyreth is going to be her best unit to pair with, because of the massive damage cap debuffs. Because it only lasts 20 seconds, it doesn't matter, because Lukel can stop time on a special, so, you know, yeah, I think it's going to be great for her in particular, and fun to mess around with it. You could use that in, like, against the worm in the Battleground Simulator. Some people do that. But, yeah, the only thing I like about this unit is this debuff, okay? If she didn't have this, I would say she would be pretty useless. But because she has some useful debuffs, that's her only saving grace, really. The only useful thing she has are the debuffs. That's about it. So, fortunately, below average unit, underwhelming, good design. Again, it's a waifu bait unit. Why do they do this? They've done this over and over again many times. They've made very good looking female characters, and then they make them very bad. They've done that so often that it's not funny. I don't know why. Because I'm not falling for it. Who's falling for it? Some people do, honestly, but I'm not one of those people. If you were to give me, like, a naked Lily, I'm not going to be just instantly throwing my money at the screen. I'm going to be looking at the kits. If there's garbage in there, I'm not going to be throwing my money at garbage, am I? Not going to throw my crystals at something that isn't going to benefit my account. So why would I, you know, even bother pulling when I could just skip, even though the design is great. Yeah, she was kind of hyped up in the story a bit. I like the story, I like the design, but the kit design, garbage. It's not the worst thing in the world, okay, but, you know, I say these negative things because I'm just disappointed, and it could have been better. But at least it's not something stupidly meta-game breaking, so that's a positive. You can save your crystals. But I just wished that they made the mechanics on this unit better. Like, if the laceration mechanic was a better design mechanic, I feel like this unit could have been interesting and not bad. But because of how laceration is right now, she just doesn't become that good, right? That's unfortunate, really. That's the unfortunate thing. So, yeah. Yeah, they could do a lot of interesting things with units. I just feel like they're kind of, I don't know, they don't I don't know why they haven't done more interesting things, because there are a lot of ideas that people have had for units kits, but they haven't gone that far yet. Well, Adis can... I don't think they can rework Laceration because, or I don't know the exact things behind it, but I know for a fact that there are gacha laws in like Japan or somewhere that if you release something, you can't nerf it. You can't like reduce the values and intentionally make it weaker. That's a law somewhere in gacha, and I know that's a thing somewhere. But nothing is stopping them from buffing anything, right? Like, if it's released, they probably can't really do much to it if it's already released, you know? So, yes, they could technically, they could improve the laceration mechanic for sure, and I think they should do that. Because currently it's such a bad mechanic that every single laceration unit that is released so far has been underwhelming. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? A couple of changes. If laceration required a lot less skills to activate, if you could activate it multiple times, it would have been a lot better. Because the problem right now is too many skills required to activate laceration on the third and fourth time and so on. That's like the main problem, and the fact that laceration has a cap that is, yeah, I mean, maybe they'll make like a laceration mage in the future or something, but it's not going to change the fact that it's currently a bad mechanic. And I'm going to keep bringing it up. Whenever they release a laceration unit, I'm always going to say it's a bad mechanic, unless they adjust it and improve it in some way, because currently the way it's designed right now is just not very good. Break is more useful, yes. Break is a lot more useful than laceration, especially if you have Archbeing Labyreth. Archbeing Labyreth is very good with a break, of course. This is the team I use for the time trial, by the way. You got, Moonlit Murder for the chance of instantly breaking bosses, and then you've got main damage dealer Megas is pretty insane. This team's pretty good, honestly. You could use a team like this for most bosses. It could be pretty strong. I do like that. Or you could change him out for like a breaker unit. But anyways, spending any crystals on the recent shift Kyle is a crime, and you should go to jail, because he was not even a good unit. I'm not going to judge, okay? I don't want to judge it, but I do. I desperately do, but I don't. Okay, I'm not the kind of person that would say if you want to pull for something because you like it, then that's on you. Okay, if you do it, then whatever. But same thing with Labyreth. If you like this unit, then I'm not going to judge you. I'll judge you secretly, but if you like the unit, do what you like. Okay, but I don't play like that in this game, okay? If I like going in depth with the unit's kits a lot more than unit design in this game. It used to be different. I used to like the unit's design a lot more than kits, but my, thought process has changed, and I care more about progressing my account and having more interesting mechanics to mess around with, because actually playing and messing around with different mechanics is a lot more fun, because that's how you actually play the game, right? Not just looking at JPEGs on the screen, But that's just how I'm like anyways. Yeah, I suppose. Well, yeah, well, I think that is everything that I wanted to do today, honestly. Here for 2 hours, honestly, longer than I thought it would be. But I just wanted to make sure I covered everything in regards to this unit. She just makes me disappointed because when you get a unit design when you get a very good unit design and then they make the unit's kit and playstyle garbage, it just feels really bad, you know, because you have a unit that you care about and it's just not, it ends up being bad of a unit. It's just annoying, but I would much rather have a bad unit than another game-breaking meta unit any day. Story-wise, she should have been a lot stronger. Like, you know what's funny to me is the fact that in the story, she was doing like ridiculous damage in the story technically. I'm saying that because like in the cutscenes, she was like very strong in the cutscenes. But then you get her in game and she's got no damage. Where's the damage? Damage gone, don't exist. She's got a lack of damage modifiers, but in the story, it wasn't like that in the slightest. It's false advertising, not really. I'm just saying that the cutscenes portrayed her strength being a lot higher than this, and then she's got like absolutely zero thunder attack ray skills and only thunder drive, and you know, I know. That's what's funny. The base form of Labyreth is the best one. I did get the summer version, which I honestly should have thought about a bit more. But this form has still got the most long-term value for PvP. She's not as good anymore, but she's still useful. See, this trait 1 on the base form of this Labyreth is basically the exact same bloody thing as the new form of Labyreth. Give damage dealt debuff when an incapacitated effect and giving a debuff to enemies. Where have we heard that before? Oh, on the new Labyreth. on a trait 2 is basically the same thing. Yeah, I like her summer form more than this form, honestly. Than this Archbeing form. Not for reasons you may be thinking, but because I thought her kit was pretty good, you know, for Battleground Simulator, and I did get some use out of her, honestly, I did. But I wish I got more use out of her. I thought I was going to use her a lot more for ailments. Unfortunately, she also has laceration. So they kind of combined this Labyreth with this one, so they put these two together. And then you got the new one. Because I really like this anima. This is the main reason, because I really like this anima. And she could do ailments too. I have used her in some of the Battleground Simulator bosses. Let me just show you quickly, and I do want to finish up in a moment. So, I haven't focused on this too much, but I have recently. Like yesterday, I did a couple of stages. I can push this. I've been using this team. Base form of Nero for ailments with a main damage dealer Callan. He's a very strong team. Been using this against Pablo. Very good. I could probably even push a bit higher than this, but it's the RNG. You know, I got this the other day actually. This is look how insane this is. By the way, it's crazy. Yeah, that's the thing I got the other day. It's great. And I've been trying to push this one because we're getting a Lambda as next one. What a coincidence, it's weak to Thunder. Who would have guessed? They want you to use the new Labby, who is bad. I've been focusing on Worm because it's most likely the easiest one, considering a lot of people have already gotten to 300s. So I think the Worm is probably the easiest one, based off of 26 seconds. It's probably the easiest one, isn't it? I'm trying to push this more with you know, Lenius and Thunderstone. It's been working so far. I haven't done much of this yet because I was doing other bosses instead, doing the bird instead. So I highly recommend to do Battlegraph Simulator if you haven't yet, because of the crests. This is like your main endgame content in this game, really. I'll just show you a couple of things that I've been using, okay? Yes, Insight Lena is worth using. Look at my teams. I've been using Insight Lena instead of Sarah in every single team against every single boss, because Honey Elixir, Infinite MP, Skill 2. You know, I have thought about this recently. I've really wanted to do a live stream focus on doing Battlegraph Simulator, but I can't do that really because I can only play well on my phone, and this is on my computer and I can't play well on my computer and I'll be like garbage, so it's not really a thing I can do. Yeah, that Skill 2 and Honey Elixir combo is why she's such a good unit, because then you can have infinite Skill 3s on Christmas Rem with Purple Orb 2, which is great. So yeah, I don't know how to stream to my PC. I'm on Android. I should probably look at it, but I've never, because I want to go through Streamlabs, and the reason why I've been able to do these live streams is Xmas Rem good? Don't ask me that question, you dumbass. You ask a stupid question like that. Why you ask a stupid question like that? Don't ask that question. You're joking. There's no way you're serious. If you've at least looked, been partially aware over the past month or so, you would know she's like the best damage dealer in the game for PvE content. So you should be aware. Anyone that's even looked at the tier list would know that she's amazing there. So let me just show you quickly what my Nero's been doing. Focus on damage, because he's gonna need the damage, and some damage cap's been pretty good, but yeah, he's been able to hit damage cap. He's very strong. Using a phone link, yeah. I might mess around with that, but here's the problem though. I think I don't have that one now. I've only got Susunu. I got Sue. Yeah, I got Sue. Well, the Devil May Cry collab is still available for another week, by the way. Yeah, I've already got Phone Link, but the problem is, I think Phone Link's gonna be a bit laggy and have some delays, so I don't know if that's even gonna be good. I mean, I could at least mess around with it and see if it's gonna be any good, but yeah, I think I'll leave it there for today. It's everything I wanted to do today. Not going to be too much happening over the next 2 weeks. I think I have no idea what the next few banners are going to be. I would expect a collab at some point, but because we had the Devil May Cry collab and it's still on right now for another week, I don't have any idea of when the next collab's going to be, because it's been all over the place. The schedule with collabs and stuff have been all over the place recently, so I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm hoping there's a new collab soon. Yeah, because Anniversary, I think Anniversary is in April, and I know that because April's my birthday, so I remember that. That's why I remember Anniversary is in April, because April's always fun. Yeah. I'm hoping the next couple of banners are skips so I can save up for Anniversary and collabs. That's what I'm hoping. Thankfully, this banner is a skip. So my conclusion for today, honestly, not too much going on today. There are going to be a couple of events like the, what do you call it? The Summons Yard's going to be starting very soon in a week, which is going to be fun. And there's some other events like the Valentine's event should be decent, and a Devil May Cry event still going on for another week. So yes, we do still have some stuff to do, and thankfully you don't have to worry too much about summoning on these banners if you've got most of these things. We're ready? Yeah. Main reason why I do these streams is to make sure everyone doesn't waste their crystals on banners that are not worth it, you know, like I feel like it's a very important information to make people aware of what banners they should be pulling on. So right now, Archbeing Labyreth, definitely an underwhelming unit. I wish she was better. I wish Laceration was a better effect. I wish it was a better mechanic. If they did Laceration better, it would have made this unit a lot better, but because she has so much tied to Laceration, it just makes the unit just underwhelming. And the lack of damage modifiers and lack of damage cap just makes her a bad damage dealer. But she does have some decent support debuffs, so she could be useful as a support, I suppose. It could work. I can see her being a bit useful in some teams, but not... I don't think it's worth pulling for, really. Yeah, the Valentine's event has 2 prisms. Yeah, that's going to be very nice. I haven't looked at who I'm going to be using them on yet, but Silver Society Lenius is going to be a good option, I think, because most people are going to be pulling on this banner to get Silver Society Lenius, so now is a good time to get him, and you can also get some prisms from the event, so that's pretty nice. Definitely recommend to skip this banner unless you really like Labyreth, it's up to you, but if you only care about meta stuff, then just ignore this banner entirely. Archbeing Magus is very good, amazing unit, highly recommend to get him if you don't have him yet. If you care about the more meta stuff and PvP, he is almost a must-have. If you care about the meta stuff and PvP, highly recommend to get him if you can. And the Ark is a very good Ark, so this banner has pretty good value because it has a very strong Ark and a very strong meta unit, so I do consider this to be quite a good banner. Has another week left, so yeah, after that week is up, there's probably not going to be too many banners going on. But we do have these step-up gachas, which I mentioned earlier. They are quite nice, and these come around every single Valentine's. The male one is a lot more useful because it has more useful Descent of Heroes units in, like Silver Society Lenius and Dark Holy Knight Ruto, if you care about PvP, could be useful. And this has Spirit Maiden Serra. So those are like the most notable ones here. It's a pretty nice step gacha if you're missing those. And Devil May Cry collab's still going on for another week. It's a weird schedule going on right now, but yeah, this for another week. Make sure to get everything in here that you want. Make sure to get Mobile Office, Devil May Cry 5 if you care about the Revive Arc, and Via Nero. These 2 units are very strong. Very useful, especially base form of Nero's Insight is amazing for Battlegraph Simulator. If you want to push Battlegraph Simulator, highly recommend to get the base form of Nero, because he's going to allow you to push Battlegraph Simulator, because he can stun enemies when he has the certain skill active, and he can also do decent DPS, so it's a very good one. Yeah, this one is the worst arc in this collab, and you don't need it. It's useless, so mostly useless. Urizen is decent. I've been trying to get this, but honestly it's not necessary. I don't see too much value in it. Yes, it's got a good trait and stuff. I've talked about all this in the past stream, but yeah, only priority are these four, I think. Hopefully everyone can get those things. And if you're literally just starting today, now's a good time, because Demon Gunner Lilibet is a very good starting unit because of her SET regen in her kit. And obviously you've got Devil May Cry collab going on. We've got a lot of good banners going on right now, so that's great. And after a week, all of this stuff will be gone. Also, Shiftlog Zeus is getting a rerun very soon. He should get a rerun in the next couple of weeks or so. Highly recommend to pull him if you can, because he's still a meta unit. Very strong PvP and PvE content. Highly recommend to get him as well. He's what you should be saving for if you don't have him yet. Highly recommend to skip Archbeing Labyreth and save for Shiftlog Zeus, because he's coming very soon. And that's all the current banners available right now. I think this update was okay. You know, I think the main thing with this update is the Valentine's promos, right? Yeah, thanks everyone for being here. Unit kind of underwhelming, honestly, and seeing her in the unit test play quest really enforces that. The fact that her damage modifiers are so low, and she's mostly going to be used as a support unit. So yeah, I'm going to be skipping that banner entirely. I'm not going to be doing any pulls on that banner, because I just don't feel like she's even worth a single crystal. I mean, if I were to get her from 100 crystals, yes, that would be worth it, but I'm not even going to try, okay? Because I don't think it's worth it. I mean, the supported debuffs are nice, but yeah, that's about it. So yeah, I'll leave that there for today. Thanks everyone for being here. Honestly, didn't expect too much from today, because it's kind of a, you know, less going on in the update today, but I like to make sure I cover everything just so everyone's aware of everything, and still interesting stuff happening and some events going on, so that's always fun. Recently, I have been playing a few other games. Like about 3 weeks ago, I started playing Last Cloudia a lot more, and over the past week, there hasn't been too much else going on, so I've been mostly focusing on a few other games, and Mugenics came out the other day, which I've been playing a lot of that, so yeah, I haven't been focusing on this game too much over the past week, but maybe something more interesting will come out. I think there will be, because the event's coming out is going to be quite fun, so looking forward to that. And I'll leave it there for today. I will add the timestamps in the next, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, however long it takes. Won't take long. And I'll see you guys in the next one, which should be in 2 weeks from now, if it goes back to the normal schedule, which it should. Either going to be a permanent unit or a Descent of Heroes unit. That is my guess. I'm hoping it's not another UR Ark, because if it's a UR Ark again, that's going to suck. Let's hope it's not something stupidly meta again. I'm hoping it's something skippable, because I want to save more for the collabs. I'm just saving for all the rerun collabs at this point, like Dr. Stone and Nia. I'm waiting for those rerun collabs, honestly. So, thanks for coming. I'll see you in 2 weeks, hopefully.